LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga took the gaming world by storm, at least briefly in its release window a few months ago, becoming one of the most well-received Star Wars games of recent time, and it also became the most popular LEGO game of all time. And it even made my anti-LEGO game ways come to a screeching halt. But what made this game so special? Well, that's what we're going to jump into in this video. This is just the first of many retrospective style videos that I'll be doing regarding Star Wars games. I plan to make this a series on the channel, and we'll also look at the not so good games as well. So if you're keen to see more of these kinds of videos on our favorite and not so favorite Star Wars games, then let me know what you want to see next in those comments below. Now, before we dive into why LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga was so great, a quick word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by Displate. Now, I've been a huge fan of these guys for years, so it's awesome to get to work with them. They sell incredible high quality prints on metal. You can choose from millions of designs from gaming, movies, cars, you name it, as well as licensed brands with companies like Netflix and, more importantly, Star Wars. Displate's Star Wars range is insane. You can deck out your man cave or your office walls with a range of them. I've got a bunch of Star Wars ones myself. I've got this Obi-Wan Kenobi one here. I've got a Jedi Fallen Order one. I've got a Clone Wars one, Game of Thrones, my football team. You get the idea. There's lots of different and cool designs with insane build quality. You mount them on your walls with a magnet. It's super easy, and you can just change your displates over in seconds. And with every displate that you buy, they plant one tree. So click the link in the description below to see what they have to offer and check out my range of displates that I've got my hands on, and also to get yourself a discount at checkout for a limited time. All those links are going to be below, and a big thank you to Displate for sponsoring this video. The exploration of the Skywalker Saga, I think for many, was the hook of the game. It certainly was for me. As good as some recent Star Wars game outings have been with the worlds we've been able to access, nothing has quite given us the freedom to go and explore as we please. Jedi Fallen Order probably being the only thing that even comes close, but the exploration of that game's worlds only consisted of a handful of planets, and most of the exploration was basically linear and on rails. Still good, but the limitations were very obvious. TT Games with the Skywalker Saga, on the other hand, just decided that they were just going to go for it in terms of exploration. I have sunk a lot of hours into this game. I've finished all 9 episodes, and I still feel like I have barely even scratched the surface. Like, the fact that this game consists of 24 planets from all 3 eras of the Skywalker Saga is just mind-blowing. The fact that you can just go and spawn in on Coruscant and then head to Endor via Geonosis if you want to. The freedom to explore is something that just made this game absolutely incredible, and just unlike any other Star Wars game that we really have ever seen. Like, making a game that gives you access to up to 24 Star Wars planets is something that really needs to be talked about more, because it's something that everybody wants, the freedom to explore the best galaxy ever seen in fiction. This game just managed to do it, and do it really well. And the fact that the developers didn't cut corners with the locations within these planets is most impressive. Like, you go to Coruscant, you don't just have the Jedi Temple to explore. No, you've got the Federal District, you've got the Senate buildings, you've got the underbelly of Coruscant, and not to mention the space above Coruscant. Short of being completely open world to the point of it being like No Man's Sky, this is basically as good as it could possibly get with the amount of planets the game has and the fact that it's Star Wars. I distinctly remember in my playthrough of this game going to the undergrounds of Coruscant to see my boy Dex, like just to see how he's going. And I ended up getting sidetracked for nearly 2 hours just searching around the place, like finding kyber bricks, goofing around with AI, finding all these little puzzles and areas, and just doing what I've wanted to do in Star Wars games for years. Explore every nook and cranny of some of my favorite Star Wars locations. I think TT Games just completely knocked this part of the game so far out of the park it's not funny. And months on from the release, I still find myself jumping back into the game, picking out any random planet and just exploring it, digging up all the really cool little Easter eggs that the game has to offer. You feel that sense of reward for your curiosity to explore these planets. And it must be said, just how well the developers translated the scenes and locations from the movies straight into the game. It just felt like they left no stone unturned with this. And I mean, it goes without saying, even though this is a Lego game, these worlds look incredible. The mix of the Lego aesthetic and almost a realistic aesthetic of the locations was a balance that the developers just nailed. The exploration of the Skywalker Saga really does play a huge role into why this game was so successful. The gameplay is something that really needed to be updated from the Skywalker Saga's predecessor, the Complete Saga. As fun as that game was, going back and playing it now, the gameplay is severely lacking by today's standards, and the changes made with the Skywalker Saga I think were perfect for what this game is. And it completely justifies why this game was even made in the first place. After all, you can add the new planets, you can add the new sequel era, you can add the new characters, but if the gameplay is still the same with zero innovation to its predecessor, then honestly, what's the point? Luckily, the Skywalker Saga has no such issue. The combat system was a major standout for me in this game. Whilst not perfect and at times can get a little bit repetitive, but the changes and innovation over its predecessor are just at the forefront in your face all the time. The fact that you can't really just mindlessly spam your opponents with attack moves and you actually have to break their block is something small that absolutely goes a long way. As well as the combo system, which adds another layer onto the gameplay to help keep things fresh. And they can be really satisfying to pull off. Even the dual aspects of the lightsaber combat, even though it's simple and not that hard, when it gets faster and faster, it is satisfying. Even simple things like force abilities, like mind tricks, it adds to the entire gameplay experience and gameplay loop. But I think one of the biggest improvements for me that definitely stands out the most is the third person aspect for blaster characters. Or just the changes to the gunplay as a whole, really. This alone adds so much more to this game for me, more than I actually thought it was going to. Normally, I just want to go for the lightsaber characters, but surprisingly, I was really happy to run around with Leia or Han or even Poe. This is something that Battlefront 2 didn't manage to pull off for me. I almost never play as a blaster hero in Battlefront 2 because I just find the gunplay boring in comparison to the lightsaber gameplay. Like, why would you want a blaster if you can have a lightsaber? You know what I mean? But there is no such problem in the Skywalker Saga for me with this, and the cover system works really well and definitely adds something to the gameplay as a whole. But another thing worth mentioning is the skill trees. They just add so much more of a unique experience to the game overall, tailor-made to how you want to play the game. And you get a good sense of progression. Admittedly, I didn't care too much for the skill trees before I started playing. I just wanted to play and explore. But I'd be stupid to leave this out, as it is a massive contributing factor as to why the gameplay of the Skywalker Saga works so well. Even the flight system, I think, works reasonably well. Flying around in this game is fun, and I think it definitely punches above its weight for a Lego game. Overall, I just think TT Games done a great job with the gameplay innovation. It doesn't do anything overly crazy, but it just adds to what the Complete Saga started. Nostalgia is basically the one thing that Star Wars is relying on these days, mainly because Disney just have the creative mind of your average Clone Wars hater. But I think we've seen in other entertainment mediums that when nostalgia is done right, it really can just be everything it needs to be. And I think TT Games managed this perfectly. The way they managed to blend nostalgia with a fresh and modern experience, it doesn't like rely too heavily on it. It just hits that balance nicely. This game absolutely targets the people who grew up playing the Complete Saga, but what I find is it also managed to target an entirely new demographic. And I mean, that's one big reason as to why this game was such a massive success. I really feel like the Skywalker Saga is like the Top Gun Maverick of games. It brings in that new audience, but it also provides the nostalgia for the OGs, all while just justifying its own existence. And I think that pretty much sums it up perfectly. The Skywalker Saga just balances all of this perfectly. It wasn't new to the point of it having no resemblance to the original, but it also wasn't a lousy attempt at just letting nostalgia carry the entire game. And I think that's best showcased with features like the Mumble Mode feature. Fans of the OG Complete Saga probably opted for the Mumble Mode, and the new players probably kept the regular dialogue. Personally, I always went with the dialogue because the voice acting in this game I thought was great, and the mumbling of LEGO games, it never really worked for me personally. Maybe I'm just too old for that, but at the same time, I'm just going to accept that it's probably just a hot take. Feel free to abuse me and call me names in the comments, it's fine. But yeah, this game overall just, for me at least, nailed the nostalgia factor, and it's absolutely one of the major reasons as to why this game soared to the heights that it did. But overall, I think the Skywalker Saga just was the perfect LEGO Star Wars game. It done exactly what it needed to do. There were absolutely some areas that the game, you could say fell short in, but personally, I don't really agree with a lot of the negative takes that some people have with this game. Granted, there isn't really that many people that have overwhelmingly negative takes on this game as a whole, because the general consensus is overwhelmingly positive. And it's pretty easy to see why. This game completely nails its basically open world, every nook and cranny from its 24 planets to its hundreds and hundreds of playable characters. There is just so much that this game offers that makes it really hard, despite its LEGO game exterior that you'd think would only appeal to children, to have a bad word to say about it. Look, is it a masterpiece? Maybe not. I still think games like KOTOR are sitting pretty at the top in the Star Wars game rankings, but the way I see it, leading up to this game, I had a really hard time getting excited for it. Sure, the ideas that TT Games were pitching in the game's absolutely shambolic marketing somehow looked cool and innovative, but I always came back to the one phrase, it's just a LEGO game. What a naive Padawan I was. Because the second I got hands on with this game, it just continued to surprise me from the very start. Maybe it was my low expectations that make me look back on this game in such a positive manner. Maybe it's because it really was that great. But everything from the sheer scale that this game provides to the comedic retelling of the Skywalker Saga, the gameplay innovation, the memes, my god, the memes. Whatever it is, it all culminates into an experience that I think is absolutely a special one. And that, my friends, is what makes LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga so great. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga down in those comments below. And also, let me know what you want to see next in this retrospective series we've got on the channel. I wanted to start out with a recent game, but I'm feeling a dive back in time to the LucasArts days next. So let me know what game you want to see next in those comments below. And of course, be sure to drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it. It really helps the channel out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And remember to check out this playthrough, the links below. But that's it for me today. Thank you for watching. Catch you later.